So if you just glance at the headlines, it really looks like Europe has its inflation problem pretty much solved. The latest numbers are out, and, they seem to tell a story of success. But if you dig just a little deeper, you find this hidden engine of inflation that has central bankers over there seriously, seriously worried. Okay, let's get into it. And here it is. This is the number that's got everyone talking. 2.2% year-over-year inflation for the euro area. Now, the European Central Bank's target is 2%, so, this is incredibly close. After all this time battling these crazy high prices, this feels like we're right at the finish line, doesn't it? The fight is basically won. Or is it? And that right there is the central mystery we're unpacking today. If the numbers look this good, why does the European Central Bank, the ECB, sound so cautious? Why aren't they popping the champagne and declaring victory? Well, it's because they're looking right past that headline number, at something much, much stickier. To really get what's worrying them, we first have to understand how we even got this good number in the first place. You see, it wasn't some kind of economic miracle. It was actually the result of a few very specific and very powerful forces that created what you might call an inflation illusion. Just look at the difference here. The progress has been absolutely staggering. Back in late 2022, inflation was screaming past 10%. Today, we're sitting at 2.2%. That massive, massive drop was driven almost entirely by a complete reversal of those huge price spikes we saw in energy and, to a lesser extent, in things like food and durable goods. So you see that incredible drop, and you'd think the ECB would be taking a victory lap, right? Maybe getting ready to cut interest rates? But no, their actions are telling a completely different story, and it reveals what's become the ECB's big worry. For 3 meetings in a row now, they've held their key policy rates steady. And you just have to listen to the language they're using. They're openly talking about their concerns over a very specific, very persistent part of inflation. Some members are even hinting that rate cuts might not happen at all. Wow, that is a huge signal that they see trouble on the horizon. So here's the key. We have to stop looking at that 2.2% average and start looking at the individual things that make up that average. It's kind of like looking at the ingredients in a cake instead of just the finished cake itself. That's where you find the real story. And boom, here it is. This is the split personality of European inflation right now. Over on the left, you've got the stuff that's cooling down. Energy prices are actually falling compared to last year. Durable goods, basically flat. Even food prices have calmed down. But look to the right. There's one category that isn't just hot, it's getting hotter. Services, running at a fiery 3.5%. And let's be clear, those cooling components on the left have been the absolute heroes of this story so far. That massive plunge in energy costs after that historic spike we saw, it did pretty much all of the heavy lifting to drag that overall number down from over 10% to where it is today. But now we have to talk about the villain of the piece, the one thing that is single-handedly keeping the ECB up at night, and that's this stubborn, persistent, and rising cost of services. This chart right here shows you exactly why they're so worried. At 3.5%, services inflation isn't just way above the ECB's 2% target, it's also a lot higher than both core inflation, that's the one that strips out the volatile stuff like energy and food, and the overall inflation rate. It is literally pulling the entire average up. So what in the world is services inflation? Well, think of it as the price of things you can't drop on your foot. We're talking about rent, car repairs, insurance, getting a haircut. And the crucial thing here is that it's driven more by things like wages and what people are spending at home, which makes it much stickier and way harder for a central bank to control. And look, this isn't just some abstract economic concept. This is the stuff that hits your budget every single month. We're talking about rent payments, the cost to get your roof fixed, your home insurance premiums, even what you pay for garbage collection. These are fundamental, non-negotiable costs for a lot of people. The ECB isn't just saying this is a minor problem. They've actually used a very powerful word to describe it, recalcitrant. Recalcitrant! That means stubbornly uncooperative, defiant. It's a crystal clear signal that they see this as a real, formidable opponent in their fight for stable prices. Okay, so we found the culprit, but why does this one category matter so much when the headline number looks pretty good? Well, this is where it all comes together. This is the ECB's core dilemma. Here's how they're thinking about it. Step 1. This sticky services inflation is already high, and it's getting higher. Step 2. that massive help they got from plunging energy prices, that was basically a one-time gift. Energy prices just can't keep falling by that much year after year. So, what happens when that gift runs out? Well, that underlying stubborn heat from services is all that's left, and it could easily push the overall rate right back up, away from that 2% goal. So the bottom line is this: that good news headline number of 2.2% is basically masking a much trickier, much more persistent inflation problem that's bubbling just beneath the surface, all driven by the rising cost of services. And that leaves us with this one critical question for the future of Europe's economy. Getting inflation down from over 10% was the dramatic first part of the race, sure, but it was helped by a huge tailwind from falling energy prices. Now that that tailwind is gone, is this final mile, taming the stubborn, recalcitrant services inflation, actually going to be the hardest part of the entire fight? That's the challenge that's going to define the year ahead.